Welcome to this edition of Your Ticket to Baseball Nostalgia. This is Dan Busby, baseball ticket collector, researcher, and author. My first baseball book was entitled Before and After Babe Ruth, a story of the New York Yankees as told through the lens of tickets and passes. In this edition of Your Ticket to Baseball Nostalgia, we are covering the 1955 Brooklyn Dodgers season. This is all based on my book Before and After Jackie Robinson, a story of the Brooklyn National League team as told through the lens of tickets and passes. Today, I'm sitting in a couple of old seats that were used at Wrigley Field decades ago. And I would like to share with you that 1955 was a seminal year for both the Dodgers and the country. In January 1955, the 114-year-old Brooklyn Eagle published for the last time. The closure was caused by a prolonged strike by the New York Newspaper Guild. This hurt Brooklyn and the Dodgers. They were left to Manhattan writers who did not like to cover Dodger games. They thought the subway trip was too long and involved to get from Manhattan to Brooklyn. A black woman named Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a bus in Montgomery, Alabama. The discovery of an oral polio vaccine was announced. President Dwight D. Eisenhower held his first televised news conference, bringing the presidency into American living rooms. During the 1955 and 1956 seasons, Jackie Robinson was looking for an opportunity to take a job outside of baseball. In 1955, he played in approximately two-thirds of the Dodger games. His batting average was down. Newspaper writers began subtly and not so subtly to refer to him as a has-been. Struggling to get into shape, Robinson showed flashes of his old form at age 36. A New York writer compared him to Tennyson's Ulysses, a warrior grown old, but still restless and indomitable, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. Walter Olsen, manager of the Dodgers, was under the gun in 1955. Another second-place finish would almost certainly mean the end of Smokey's brief tenure in Brooklyn. He appeared more forceful on the ball field. The still lingering shadow of Charlie Dressen spurred his transformation. As the team moved north after training at Vero Beach, Florida, it was clear that the relationship between Olsen and Robinson was deteriorating. Jackie told a reporter that his arm was fine and he should be playing third base instead of Don Hoke. When a reporter asked Olsen about Robinson's comment, Smokey wisely said Jackie should be informing him about the condition of his arm instead of a reporter. These were grown men sharing the same dugout. By 1955, there were nearly 40 black men playing in the major leagues. The holdouts were the Boston Red Sox, the Philadelphia Phillies, and the Detroit Tigers. But integration seemed irreversible. The Chicago American noted, "The Negro player is no longer a novelty. The clubs that haven't any on their rosters are the novelties." Roy Campanella was working with three young, promising hurlers. In addition to Carl Spooner, Don Drysdale was a promising 18-year-old pitcher who had only a few months of Class C ball under his belt. And then there was Sandy Koufax. Since baseball rules at the time required a player to be kept on the major league roster that paid him over $4,000 as a signing bonus in the offseason, Koufax was on the roster. He was very fast, but his control was so bad that much of the Dodger varsity refused to face him in batting practice. Koufax was Jewish, but he didn't tout it. The national pastime was no bastion of enlightenment in 1955. There were strains of anti-Semitism in baseball. Even the great Hank Aaron was quoted as saying, "Everybody thought, hey, Koufax needs to be somewhere off in school, counting money or doing whatever they do." With his bonus money safely in the bank, Koufax sprained his ankle in spring training. Some said he tripped over his wallet. Koufax needed opportunities to become a real pitcher, but Olsen had an established pitching staff, so the future Hall of Famer spent most of 1955 and 1956 on the bench. Olsen needed to win, Sandy needed to pitch. Olsen was afraid of inexperience. Koufax was damned by it. Nothing could stop the Dodgers in 1955. They opened the season by winning 10 straight games. Their home opener with Erskine winning 6-1 over the Pittsburgh Pirates. Jim Gilliam and Carl Furillo banged out home runs. By May 10, their record was 22-2. One of the most dramatic victories came on May 2 when Carl Erskine and Milwaukee Braves right-hander Gene Conley were locked in a scoreless tie in the 12th inning of a night game at Ebbets Field. Because the Braves had a train to catch, the decision was made that no inning would begin after 11:15 p.m. At 11:13 p.m., Carl Furillo came to bat with a man on base and hit Conley's second pitch into the lower left field stands. It was the game-winning run. In May, Don Nukem refused to throw batting practice, as was expected of all pitchers. Olsen called him into the clubhouse, told him to take off his uniform and go home, suspending him indefinitely. After one day at home, Nukem returned to the team and apologized. And by the end of June, his record was 10-0. At the All-Star Game break, the Dodgers were 15.5 games ahead of second-place Milwaukee. Roy Campanella was playing in pain after being struck by a foul tip on his left kneecap on June 19. Plus, the pain in his left hand had returned. Jackie was showing signs of decline. His body, ravaged by his college football years and 8 no-holds-barred seasons with the Dodgers, had begun to break down. Erskine, Padres, and Lowe's were all complaining of various arm maladies as the second half of the season began. Don Besant and Roger Craig were promoted from the farm system and went a combined 13-4 during the remainder of the season. On August 16, 1955, Walter O'Malley dropped a grenade on Dodger fans and city officials, revealing the Dodgers would play 7 games, one against each league opponent, in Jersey City's Roosevelt Stadium in 1956 and 1957, plus 1 exhibition game. O'Malley also said that 1957 would be the last season in Ebbets Field, alluding to a possible new ballpark in Brooklyn by 1958. On August 27, Sandy Koufax started against Cincinnati at Ebbets Field, struck out 14, and shut out Cincinnati 7-0. He was 19 years old, pitching for a $6,000 salary and a $14,000 bonus. There was some resentment on the team against Koufax. After all, he was a bonus baby, taking another player's spot, and he was a Jew. The latter resentment was odd, since the Dodgers played in a heavily Jewish area. Don Nukem was an overpowering pitcher for the Dodgers in 1955. He set a record on Labor Day by hitting his 7th home run of the season. On his way to a 20-win season while losing only 5 games, Nukem was the best-hitting pitcher of his generation. At the end of the season, his batting average was .359. With his arm, he could have been a fine outfielder. The Dodgers waltzed to the National League title, clinching their 8th pennant of the modern era against the Braves on September 8 in Milwaukee. They went on to win the pennant by 13.5 games. They had never won a World Series. Well, thank you for joining us for this edition of Your Ticket to Baseball Nostalgia. Watch our other videos to relive Brooklyn Dodger history. This video is based on my book, Before and After Jackie Robinson, a story of the Brooklyn National League team as told through the lens of tickets and passes. For more information on old baseball tickets, go to baseballticketman.com and order your copy of Before and After Babe Ruth and Before and After Jackie Robinson on Amazon. And watch for my 3rd baseball book, Before and After Satchel Paige. And a special thank you to Daniel Herman, who shot and edited this video.